Chapter 1 of The Odd Women. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Elizabeth Klett. The Odd Women by George Gissing. Chapter 1. The Fold and the Shepherd.
"So tomorrow, Alice,"
said Dr. Madden, as he walked with his eldest daughter on the coast downs by Clevedon,
"I shall take steps for insuring my life for £1,000.
It was the outcome of a long and intimate conversation. Alice Madden, aged 19, a plain, shy, gentle-mannered girl, short of stature, and in movement something less than graceful, wore a pleased look as she glanced at her father's face, and then turned her eyes across the blue channel to the Welsh hills. She was flattered by the confidence reposed in her, for Dr. Madden, reticent by nature, had never been known to speak in the domestic circle about his pecuniary affairs. He seemed to be the kind of man who would inspire his children with affection, grave but benign, amiably diffident, with a hint of lurking mirthfulness about his eyes and lips. And to-day he was in the best of humours. Professional prospects, as he had just explained to Alice, were more encouraging than hitherto. For 20 years he had practised medicine at Clevedon, but with such trifling emolument that the needs of his large family left him scarce a margin over expenditure. Now, at the age of 49, it was 1872, he looked forward with a larger hope. Might he not reasonably count on 10 or 15 more years of activity? Clevedon was growing in repute as a seaside resort. New houses were rising. Assuredly his practice would continue to extend.
"I don't think girls ought to be troubled about this kind of thing,"
he added apologetically.
"Let men grapple with the world, for, as the old hymn says, 'tis their nature to. I should grieve indeed if I thought my girls would ever have to distress themselves about money matters. But I find I have got into the habit, Alice, of talking to you very much as I should talk with your dear mother, if she were with us."
Mrs. Madden, having given birth to 6 daughters, had fulfilled her function in this wonderful world. For 2 years she had been resting in the old churchyard that looks upon the Severn Sea. Father and daughter sighed as they recalled her memory. A sweet, calm, unpretending woman, admirable in the domesticities, in speech and thought distinguished by a native refinement, which in the most fastidious eyes would have established her claim to the title of lady. She had known but little repose, and secret anxieties told upon her countenance long before the final collapse of health.
"And yet,"
pursued the doctor only by courtesy, when he had stooped to pluck and examine a flower,
"I made a point of never discussing these matters with her. As no doubt you guess, life has been rather an uphill journey with us. But the home must be guarded against sordid cares to the last possible moment. Nothing upsets me more than the sight of those poor homes where wife and children are obliged to talk from morning to night of how the sorry earnings shall be laid out. No, women, old or young, should never have to think about money."
The magnificent summer sunshine, and the western breeze that tasted of ocean, heightened his natural cheeriness. Dr. Madden fell into a familiar strain of prescience.
"There will come a day, Alice, when neither man nor woman is troubled with such sordid care. Not yet a while. No, but the day will come. Human beings are not destined to struggle for ever like beasts of prey. Give them time, let civilization grow. You know what our poet says, 'There the common sense of most shall hold a fretful realm in awe.'"
He quoted the couplet with a subdued fervour which characterized the man and explained his worldly lot. Elkanah Madden should never have entered the medical profession. Mere humanitarianism had prompted the choice in his dreamy youth. He became an empiric, nothing more.
"Our poet," said the doctor. Clevedon was chiefly interesting to him for its literary associations. Tennyson he worshipped. He never passed Coleridge's cottage without bowing in spirit. From the contact of coarse actualities his nature shrank. When he and Alice returned from their walk, it was the hour of family tea. A guest was present this afternoon. The 8 persons who sat down to table were as many as the little parlour could comfortably contain. Of the sisters, next in age to Alice came Virginia, a pretty but delicate girl of 17. Gertrude, Martha, and Isabel, ranging from 14 to 10, had no physical charm but that of youthfulness. Isabel surpassed her eldest sister in downright plainness of feature. The youngest, Monica, was a bonny little maiden only just 5 years old, dark and bright-eyed. The parents had omitted no care in shepherding their fold. Partly at home and partly in local schools, the young ladies had received instruction suitable to their breeding, and the elder ones were disposed to better this education by private study. The atmosphere of the house was intellectual. Books, especially the poets, lay in every room. But it never occurred to Dr. Madden that his daughters would do well to study with a professional object. In hours of melancholy he of course dreaded the risks of life, and resolved always with postponement to make some practical provision for his family. In educating them as well as circumstances allowed, he conceived that he was doing the next best thing to saving money, for if a fatality befell, teaching would always be their resource. The thought, however, of his girls having to work for money was so utterly repulsive to him that he could never seriously dwell upon it. A vague piety supported his courage. Providence would not deal harshly with him and his dear ones. He enjoyed excellent health, his practice decidedly improved. The one duty clearly before him was to set an example of righteous life, and to develop the girls' minds in every proper direction. For, as to training them for any path save those trodden by English ladies of the familiar type, he could not have dreamt of any such thing. Dr. Madden's hopes for the race were inseparable from a maintenance of morals and conventions such as the average man assumes in his estimate of women. The guest at table was a young girl named Rhoda Nunn. Tall, thin, eager-looking, but with promise of bodily vigour, she was singled at a glance as no member of the Madden family. Her immaturity (15, she looked 2 years older) appeared in nervous restlessness, and in her manner of speaking, childish at times in the hustling of inconsequent thoughts, yet striving to imitate the talk of her seniors. She had a good head, in both senses of the phrase, might or might not develop a certain beauty, but would assuredly put forth the fruits of intellect. Her mother, an invalid, was spending the summer months at Clevedon, with Dr. Madden for a medical adviser, and in this way the girl became friendly with the Madden household. Its younger members she treated rather condescendingly. Childish things she had long ago put away, and her sole pleasure was in intellectual talk. With a frankness peculiar to her, indicative of pride, Miss Nunn let it be known that she would have to earn her living, probably as a school-teacher. Study for examinations preoccupied most of her day, and her hours of leisure were frequently spent either at the Maddens or with a family named Smithson. People, these latter, for whom she had a profound and somewhat mysterious admiration. Mr. Smithson, a widower with a consumptive daughter, was a harsh-featured, rough-voiced man of about 35, secretly much disliked by Dr. Madden because of his aggressive radicalism. If women's observation could be trusted, Rhoda Nunn had simply fallen in love with him, had made him, perhaps unconsciously, the object of her earliest passion. Alice and Virginia commented on the fact in their private colloquy with a shamefaced amusement. They feared that it spoke ill for the young lady's breeding. None the less, they thought Rhoda a remarkable person, and listened to her utterances respectfully. "And what is your latest paradox, Miss Nunn?" inquired the doctor, with grave facetiousness, when he had looked round the young faces at his board.
"Really, I forget, doctor. Oh, but I wanted to ask you, Do you think women ought to sit in Parliament?"
"Why, no," was the response, as if after due consideration. "If they are there at all, they ought to stand."
"Oh, I can't get you to talk seriously," rejoined Rhoda, with an air of vexation, whilst the others were good-naturedly laughing. "Mr. Smithson thinks there ought to be female members of Parliament."
"Does he? Have the girls told you that there's a nightingale in Mr. William's orchard?"
It was always thus. Dr. Madden did not care to discuss even playfully the radical notions which Rhoda got from her objectionable friend. His daughters would not have ventured to express an opinion on such topics when he was present. Apart with Miss Nunn, they betrayed a timid interest in whatever proposition she advanced, but no gleam of originality distinguished their arguments. After tea the little company fell into groups, some out of doors beneath the apple-trees, others near the piano at which Virginia was playing Mendelssohn. Monica ran about among them with her 5-year-old prattle, ever watched by her father, who lounged in a canvas chair against the sunny ivied wall, pipe in mouth. Dr. Madden was thinking how happy they made him, these kind, gentle girls, how his love for them seemed to ripen with every summer. What a delightful old age his would be, when some were married and had children of their own, and the others tended him, they whom he had tended. Virginia would probably be sought in marriage. She had good looks, a graceful demeanour, a bright understanding. Gertrude also, perhaps. And little Monica. Ah, little Monica. She would be the beauty of the family. When Monica had grown up, it would be time for him to retire from practice. By then he would doubtless have saved money. He must find more society for them. They had always been too much alone. Whence their shyness among strangers? If their mother had but lived. "Rhoda wishes you to read us something, father," said his eldest girl, who had approached whilst he was lost in dream. He often read aloud to them from the poets, Coleridge and Tennyson by preference. Little persuasion was needed. Alice brought the volume, and he selected The Lotus Eaters. The girls grouped themselves about him, delighted to listen. Many an hour of summer evening had they thus spent, none more peaceful than the present. The reader's cadenced voice blended with the song of a thrush. "Let us alone. Time driveth onward fast, and in a little while our lips are dumb. Let us alone. What is it that will last? All things are taken from us." There came an interruption, hurried, peremptory. A farmer over at Kingston Seymour had been seized with alarming illness. The doctor must come at once. "Very sorry, girls. Tell James to put the horse in, sharp as he can." In 10 minutes Dr. Madden was driving at full speed, alone in his dog-cart, towards the scene of duty. About 7 o'clock Rhoda Nunn took leave, remarking with her usual directness that before going home she would walk along the sea-front, in the hope of a meeting with Mr. Smithson and his daughter. Mrs. Nunn was not well enough to leave the house to-day. But, said Rhoda, the invalid preferred being left alone at such times. "Are you sure she prefers it?" Alice ventured to ask. The girl gave her a look of surprise. "Why should mother say what she doesn't mean?" It was uttered with an ingenuousness which threw some light on Rhoda's character. By 9 o'clock the younger trio of sisters had gone to bed. Alice, Virginia, and Gertrude sat in the parlour, occupied with books, from time to time exchanging a quiet remark. A tap at the door scarcely drew their attention, for they supposed it was the maidservant coming to lay supper. But when the door opened, there was a mysterious silence. Alice looked up and saw the expected face, wearing, however, so strange an expression that she rose with sudden fear. "Can I speak to you, please, miss?" The dialogue out in the passage was brief. A messenger had just arrived with the tidings that Dr. Madden, driving back from Kingston Seymour, had been thrown from his vehicle and lay insensible at a roadside cottage. From time to time the doctor had been intending to buy a new horse. His faithful old roadster was very weak in the knees. As in other matters, so in this, postponement became fatality. The horse stumbled and fell, and its driver was flung head forward into the road. Some hours later they brought him to his home, and for a day or two there were hopes that he might rally. But the sufferer's respite only permitted him to dictate and sign a brief will. This duty performed, Dr. Madden closed his lips for ever. End of chapter 1.